Crom Update episode 50 with Jason Schoonover for what's this, like the seventh time?
Gosh, I don't know, man. I'm not even counting anymore. I feel like I live here.
So, that's exactly what David Molina said, and I gave him a playlist, so he's going to be at 8 from the last video. I think you're close behind him, if not right on top. So you're going to
Yeah.
get your own playlist as well, because then people can sit there and watch hours and hours of us talking about Crom and comics and everything. But it's always good to catch up with you. You have been busy,
Yeah, I
to
mean it's
say the least.
I tend to like spread myself a little thin, I guess it seems like. But
I too.
it is what it is. A couple of them though have been like paid work, so I can't necessarily say no to them.
Nice.
Um,
Nice.
which is good. It builds my portfolio. It's I get a little
Yep.
scratch for it and
Yep.
a little step in the right direction.
Cool. Cool. Yeah. And then I was just saying, you've been doing a lot of live streaming too. So I'm going to put a link
Yeah,
to Jason Schoonover's YouTube channel. So really nice time too. You do it really well. It's on that like cusp of just being more meditative. You know what I
a
mean?
little bit.
There's a little jawing and drawing at the same time, but
Yeah.
just to watch what you're working on and getting down into it, I like that kind of stuff. So you know,
I do too.
gets
It
me
definitely
gets my
seems
blood.
like it gets more eyes on you. I was kind of taking a cue from you and all the live streaming
Yep,
you've been doing, and it looks like it's been
yep.
successful in driving traffic to where you want to drive it to. So I'm
That
just trying to emulate.
well, yeah, yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I find too that it's also you don't have to edit a video, so
Yeah.
it just goes right up.
I don't gotta
Um,
worry about the camera storage on my phone and deleting stuff, and
exactly,
there's
exactly.
the interactive nature of the chat and stuff, so it's good. But it
Yep.
allows for like you said, those long stretches of just drawing and no talking, or you know, even if there's nobody in the chat, I'm like, I don't know. I was talking about like medical screws before I closed off the last one, so just thoughts that come into my head.
Have you tried going live on Instagram?
A couple of times. I think I
Yeah.
like the YouTube better though because it allows you
Yeah,
to
me
do the
too.
horizontal like
Yeah.
orientation.
Yeah.
And it seems like it puts it out to more people that aren't necessarily on my subscribers list. Like early on, I
Yeah.
was getting pretty decent, like in the hundreds, like
Yeah.
view counts or whatever. And it's tapered off since then, but it's still like consistent enough to where, it's like you already have an audience while you're shooting the video. So as
Yeah.
it's uploaded, you already have those metrics. You know what I'm saying? So I figure that's
Yep.
like good for the algorithm or whoever decides that stuff.
And the video content when you do it on YouTube, it does have a longevity to it. So in other
Yeah,
words,
that's what
it
I
becomes
figured.
searchable. It becomes
Yeah,
searchable and also presentable because you've got that discovery, pipeline that
exactly.
constantly comes up and everything. And yeah, I've actually been thinking more and more of putting myself really into just even the shorts.
Yeah,
treating the shorts as if the same as the Instagram and stuff. But it's all good. But
yeah,
we are here to catch up on Crom-dahar. So just to
that's right.
give everybody a very very quick update and who and what's going on. I'm Kurt Brugel. I've been working on Crom the Barbarian. It's going to be coming up on a year, very, very, very soon. This year in August, I put together 140 pages of Crom Sword and Sorcery magazine size black and white goodness. And as I was working on and putting this whole thing together, I came up with this crazy idea. Maybe there's some other people out there that like to hang out with me and give me their version of Crom. And reached out to David Molina first, and then made my way through a kind of a wish list. And so far, nobody has turned me down. But you, Jason Schoonover, was
Hmm.
uh, was one of them. And then, of course,
Yeah.
one of the ways that I've compensated everybody all the guest artists was I gave them copies, um, and then gave them the opportunity at like cost to buy copies with their virgin covers. So there's covers out there
Yeah.
that have Jason Schoonover's version of Crom the Barbarian, and you can purchase them from Jason Schoonover. So Jason's stats are all, Instagram, YouTube,
Oh,
website.
I'm all
That's all going
over.
to be down in there. So if you need a
Yeah,
copy of Crom the Barbarian and you want a Jason Schoonover cover, that's where it's at.
that's right.
But
Got it
then
right here. I actually, to add to that
oh,
too, Kurt, I actually ordered
yeah.
some posters. So if people are interested in getting a 18 by 24 poster with, you know, their
Oh,
copy of
wow.
Crom,
You have
20
them?
bucks. It's only, not yet. I just ordered them,
Oh, I can't
and
wait to
I
see
should
them.
be
Oh,
grabbing them next week, and they should look
oh,
really
that's going to be
good.
awesome.
But it's only another
Tag me.
$7, 20 bucks, and you get the poster and you get the book. So,
Oh,
there's
sweet,
more Crom
sweet,
to come.
sweet. Woohoo!
Oh
And
yeah.
we have a story, a sequential story. So,
Mm,
each of the guest artists, I then, as things were wrapping up and moving forward, say, hey, you want to work on a sequential Crom story together and just see what we can come up with. And Jason had this idea of trying to put something together with the Kandahar Giants, which was a
yeah.
like a
It's like an
myth
alt
kind of
history conspiracy
conspiracy.
theory,
Yeah.
but it's pretty benign as far as conspiracy theory. I think it's one that you could talk about on YouTube without getting demonetized or put on a list.
Well, let me straighten my tinfoil hat here for a second.
Yeah, no, for sure. You got to
But
put it on to, if you're watching this.
I love conspiracy theories, and so we've gotten about 6 pages here, scripted.
Yes,
Basically between the two of us, and we're
it's
calling it
locked in.
Crom the
Crom-dahar, right?
Har.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Just combine the two words to make a new one.
and it's really cool. Now the thing is, when I reached out to the guest artist and did that initial sit down, in recordings, which you can go back and check out. A lot of people were asking me questions about my Crom, the way that I have envisioned him. Can you do like time travel, alien? Is it on an alien world and everything? And
Hmm.
I pretty much say yes to it all. Not to just be like easygoing, but Crom was created by an author by the name of Gardner Francis Fox and an artist by the name of John Guinta back in 1950. And if you don't know anything about Gardner F. Fox, he loves playing with time in his stories. If he
Hmm.
can, he will. So as my Crom goes, there's a lot of playing around with time. So I really locked into this with Jason because instead of in the story of the Kandahar Giants, there being some kind of mythological beast, this elite military unit ends up running into Crom in a cave. Now you've got
Yeah.
two and a half pages laid out. I'm going to be doing the inking, and
Yes.
man, these are fantastic.
I'm really
This
happy
is
with them. They've
Oh
been a
gosh, yeah.
struggle, but I am every time I
Oh,
finish the page, it's like I'm satisfied with the composition, and it's a really interesting project, Kirk, because this is like 100% different from the way I'm used to working, and I'm still like pretty new with comics, so it's like I don't really have a method. I'm still figuring it out. I
I
have
love it.
materials that I like to use, but being forced to kind of like take it back to its basics and be like, no, just do pencil. Let me just hit me with your pencils, man. I just want to see the
Yep,
pencils.
yep,
Not only is it hard, but it's also very good for me because I tend to be way too reliant on just the fountain pen. And
yep.
now I've also given myself the ability to almost exclusively use the fountain pen. So while I'm doing something to broaden my horizons, I'm still doubling down on my stubbornness and only wanting to use this one material. But at the same time, it is something that's definitely like making me have a much more thoughtful approach to this, like having to hammer out a script and go back and forth with edits. It's a tough process, but I think it's definitely helped my personal process in being more thoughtful with how I will approach comics in the future. You know what I'm saying? If that makes any sense. But
Absolutely, it really does dovetail into the last conversation I had with David Molina, which was really about professionalism and defining
yeah,
professionalism for yourself. This is also detaching from the idea of commercialism, because
yes,
just so everybody understands very clearly, the thing that caught my eye in these guest artists that I reached out to, Jason specifically, and as a matter of fact, David Molina, when I suggested, I was like, oh, I think I'm going to reach out to this guy, Jason Schoonover. And David knew who you were and was following you. And
yeah,
said the same thing is, man, that guy has got some mark making. And I'm really obsessed with becoming more and more of an inker than just, let's say, a generalized comic book creator.
yeah,
And so collaboration is very, very important. I'm one half of Turbo Pit Fighter with Jake Jacobs, which on YouTube you can find Turbo Pit Fighter comic.
yeah.
And
You
I'm
guys
the
are
inker.
firing
I'm
on
the inker
all
on that part.
cylinders with that. Yeah,
Yeah. And so this has been giving me the breath to be able to reach out and work with others in a professional way, but a
yeah,
non-commercial way. And both you and David surprised me when you said you really didn't have a lot of, let's say, comic book laying out experience,
yeah.
and was really just sort of like, hey, what do I do? Just on your own. And then we have
Yeah,
had episodes where we were talking about it. But the moment I said, man, just treat the 11 by 17, as a drawing. I mean,
yeah,
page two, I just want to really
yeah,
zero in on this, because this to me right here, this panel, not any of this being lesser, but this
yeah,
is
yeah,
Jason Schoonover. This is
yeah.
100% you. This is 100% what I want, because then my brain as the inker starts firing off things. It's like, oh shit, is that
Good.
going to be like one of these things? Oh, and then I'm going to have to ask him if this is, up. And then look at how dark this is. And that's how light this is. The shadows,
Yeah.
so it's, oh man. And
Well,
most people are going to
I'll
look
tell
at
you
this.
the big difference between like this panel and like lead like so obviously like these two are I mean they are lesser than because they're leading you to this big one that ultimately I think you're supposed to spend more time with as a reader. But in
Yeah.
drawing them, even going from page one to page two, this is when I just started using just like a 2B pencil and just drawing with the side of
Nice.
it and stuff, and that was just a lot more
Nice.
like it was a very like it just felt similar and like to the way a fountain pen feels comfortable to me. So it's like,
Cool.
doing things in this way, but also finding a comfortable way to do it. And I think ultimately, yeah, this is probably my favorite one I've drawn so far for this project.
Yeah.
I
And
like
this
this
is all
composition a
for,
lot.
right. And this is where we're all working towards the follow up to Crom, which is going to be called Crom Anthology #1. Um,
Yeah,
but at this point, we're in the middle of March. Excuse me, middle of November.
yeah,
I have a couple of hopes and wishes, if you will, but there's a lot of reality that does settle in, and I keep this as low to no stress work environment, and it's for two reasons. It's because I'm not playing publisher as a dominant. I'm not compensating,
yeah.
cash, per page, but I also don't want individuals like yourself to fall into a commercializing process. In other words, oh, I think he needs this. Oh, I think he means this.
Yeah.
Oh, I think he wants this. Oh, the kids love when you do that. I don't want any
Don't
of
even
that
consider it. Yeah.
attached to it, and really, pushing things. But I also understand, because I experience it too, working on my own stories, is there is a bit of anxiety, or a little more anxiety, that can kind of grow when you're in this process, which is like, am I making sense? Am I, is this
Yeah.
going to be cool? Is it going to, people are going to like it? Are people really going to read it? And one of
Yeah.
my theories, and it's why the anthology has become so very, very much important to me in the method of getting material out there, is because you as the reader, I find, when you pick up like a heavy metal, in 1992, you might
Hmm.
only see, literally only look at the things that you like at 92, which I was 22 years old. So
Yeah.
at that 22-year-old guy, I'm reading this and I'm like, oh man, look at Slain drawn by Simon Beasley, blah, blah. Oh, there's these weird artsy, and then there's these little weird artsy comics and stuff. Now I'm going back. I mean, I totally love the Simon Beasley Slain thing, but now I'm going
Of
back
course.
to that issue in 92 and looking at those one-page European or even American-based, artsy fartsy stuff, going, oh, that's what I like. That's what I want to see. So we can't look at it as like, oh, this is the hotness, oh, look what just
Yeah.
got
Oh, for
released. It's
sure.
more like coming back to and being able to have a reference.
Yeah, I mean, again, like you were saying with that appeal of the anthology book, is there's always like some tenuous thread tying them all together. But,
Yep.
the appeal is like all those different riffs on like, okay, the book's called Heavy Metal. Draw me a comic that you think would appear in a book called Heavy Metal. So
There
there's
you
like,
go.
and it's the same thing with Crom. It's like it could take place on any planet, any time, anything you
Yep.
want to do, as long as Crom's in it, we're doing it.
Yep.
So
Yep.
you got it.
Yep.
You're definitely nailing that spirit of the anthology book here.
So then you also today sent me, I'm calling it version one, draft one, where you've taken my notes, and we've been bouncing back and forth on this for a couple
Yeah,
episodes now, and you really tied this up together. I do want to jump all the way to my last question on
sure.
page 6. Do you think we're going to need more pages, if not one more page, or are you feeling pretty good about the 6-page containment?
I'm feeling pretty good about the 6 pages,
Good.
but
Okay.
I would leave that maybe still open ended. Just I don't know
Okay.
what I'll be thinking as I get to page 6.
Okay.
Particularly like one of the reasons why oop, I keep moving the camera. Sorry, why I haven't
Sorry.
finished page 3 is I'm figuring out like what a good composition for this is, and I'm
Yep.
also starting to go back and be like, well, do I need to repaste a couple of things from the beginning of page 4 to be right here,
Right.
or because
Right.
the problem I'm having with this is like, so, they're behind this big rock, and then there's like this temple cave entrance in the background, which is supposed to be like massive. And then
Yeah.
if I'm going to put them next to it in this thing, so it's I need to have that look massive and have the cave entrance look massive, but also still have enough detail to make it look like he's about to, throw a flashbang grenade in there. So I'm wrestling with some composition stuff there. I need to put a couple of hours of just doodling and get it down is what it is. But I think it's like there is still some things where that might shift one or two things from the beginning of page 4 to here just for clarification's sake. Which
Yeah.
would just open up page 4, I think, because that's the one where everything goes all out action. It would just open it up to maybe one or two panels of that. You
Yeah.
know what I'm
4.
saying?
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
but the
Yep.
the overall point I'm trying to make is like maybe when I get to page 6, I might start reconsidering. Well, maybe we need one more page, but right now, lock it to page 6, just with an ellipses after that, just in
Well,
case.
I would also say that you could add more panels. That would be the other thing as an opportunity, because the one thing we did establish compositionally that we're holding on to is that
Hmm.
Dark Knight grid, where it's
Yeah,
8 panels individually, individually sharing the same space, but there's this flashing moment of
yeah,
images, being pronounced and then complete darkness and going there. And page 4 really does give that lead up. So page 5 is really going to have a big thing, big
right. That's what it
reveal
was.
and,
Page,
and,
I
and
got it
energy.
confused. Yeah,
Yep. And 6, big panels are always great because they give that sweeping, but I always, this is me speaking out loud, not to
yeah,
place
hit it.
upon you, but I've always sort of earmarked the large, especially a wide angle or wide screen panel as like establishing and then reestablishing shot. So
Yeah,
the only thing that I would say is you have it the way it's, let's say sketched out in words is kind of them like literally after, it's like literally the next moment after page 5,
Yeah.
and then it does, and then it doesn't really have a rest to it, like in a reestablishing point. But
Sure. Yeah.
at the same time, ignoring myself as a, let's say, editor, play editor here, it does. I love the open endedness. It might be too much
Yeah.
for people. They might that's why I put in the note like needing more pages or another page, because people might go, oh shit,
Yeah.
what's going
It
on?
needs something to
That's
kind of
the
like bookmark or yeah, because I did like when I was writing it, I kind of just been like, well, this seems like a good kind of cutting off point to where like I don't know if I get a wild hair at my ass later and I want to continue it like I could kind of thing.
right,
But I think
No, you left
even
yourself up.
bookmarking it with something a little more solid doesn't necessarily cut it off from that either. But would make it a more satisfying like short story, like you're saying. I think that makes a
Yep,
lot of sense.
yep. Yeah, and just reiterating too is giving you the ability to learn, because
Yes,
I
absolutely.
think that the toughest part about comic books is you could make six, not you, like
Yeah.
us,
Yeah.
we can make six awesomely rendered pages, but do they really flow together as one story idea?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that, I think for anybody, no matter how old or young, getting into the, being involved in comics, um, that's always going to be there.
Yeah, for
There's
sure.
no getting around it. I mean, even if you're making a little doodly peanut strip, you could make six individual pages that you feel like are holding themselves into a bigger story idea, but then at the end you might go, oh, wait a second. And as you've said, coming back and saying, okay, well, maybe I need to do less of this and this needs to be a little
Yeah.
bigger, and you know what I mean? Then you're playing with it, which I think is also the real attractive point of wanting to be a comic book artist,
Yeah.
is
There's a
the
lot
art
of
form are the yeah, the art
approaches
form
to
is
it.
those six
Yeah.
pages. Yeah, that's those
Yeah.
6 pages. It's not this is not the art. I keep
Yeah.
saying to
Absolutely.
everybody, it's not until this thing is in my hands is this considered art. This is the
Yes.
art
Yeah, because
right
it's the
here.
culmination of all those
Yep,
choices. Because it could
yep,
be, yeah, I mean, like again, that's also like the appeal too of the anthology book too. It's like you give
yep,
everybody their 6 pages and it's like, no, there's limitless things you could possibly do. Not even like even if it was just everybody tell the same story, like if you gave everybody the same script, you would still get wildly different comics,
oh, oh yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's also, we've already discussed that, as I will have my day in the sun and inking you will still have your own ability to ink your version,
Yeah.
and there's two versions of that comic out
Yeah.
there
That
in
I think
two final,
that's
and I
so
love
fun.
that.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think I don't,
Yeah.
like I said, the commercializing of one and done and move on is, I think, it's a very wasteful way of getting anywhere as a comic book artist, because I think a
Yeah.
lot of people are missing. You're missing so much. You're
I
dropping
agree
things
too. And
as you're moving on.
I wonder too if like now we're moving more into an age of like I mean like you had like your auteur indie filmmaker explosion in
Yeah.
the late 90s early 2000s if we're moving more towards that where it's more about like your portfolio kind of thing and supporting the stuff you've done in the past and then because of that because you're having to do a lot with a little you're kind of forced to not do these one and done things but you have to kind of constantly remind people like oh I did this new thing but I also have this old thing here and you got to kind of make these old things new again somehow which you can also take kind of cues from big studios when they shoot like Mad Max in color and then they're like oh we're releasing the black and white version it's like
Yeah.
well
Yeah.
you just made it grayscale it's not shot for black and white but
Exactly.
because I have all these raw materials here with me, there's infinite amount. I could give this to somebody else and say, hey, I want to see what your inks would look on top of this, and just do an entire book of different, inks on top of the same pencil. Like there's a
Yep,
million things
yep,
he could do. I think it's a lot of
yep,
fun.
yep. Yeah, it's super exciting, but then it's super daunting in once again dreaming, living the
Yeah,
dream like uh, uh, value system of an artist. Because personally right now I am my business model is the December of every year. November I slow down business. Business slows down because holidays take precedence over everybody's
for
decision
sure.
making thing. So there's not a lot of business other than like selling, from your website and
Yeah,
such. But I use December to really plan out the next year, like 2025.
yeah.
Are you familiar with IC3 in November? And excuse me, March. Jason, the
What
Comic Con,
is? Oh, yeah, I mean, the
the indie
acronym
comic,
sounds familiar. Where's
the
where's?
indie
Oh, the
creator
Indie
Comic
Comic
Con.
Con. No, I've
Yeah,
never been to
yeah.
it, but I've heard the acronym before.
Well,
Yeah.
next year will be the second year. It's up in Connecticut,
Hmm.
University of Connecticut. Anyways, Jake and I are going to be there, so it's
Nice.
kind of, well, yes, it is nice, but it's also given me a huge amount of anxiety, and I'm kind of placing it on Jake because I want to have something there that's it's like an unveiling, and I do not believe it's going to be Crom Anthology because the
Yeah,
reality keeps setting in on my dreams. It's like, oh man, I
it's
really want to give Jason the time, and I got David, and I got so and so and so and so going on and
well,
everything.
it's tough to
So
do,
I'm,
man.
I'm
It's like wrangling cats. Yeah, it's a lot on your
well,
plate.
yeah, but like I said, it's also I don't want to push anybody. I don't want to.
Yeah, for
I mean,
sure. Oh
I'm
no.
gonna be establishing deadlines. I'll be establishing
Yeah,
deadlines soon, but it's only realistically to allow me to say, okay, got to move to the next place,
for
and then if
sure.
you
Yeah,
if you unfortunately missed it, there's just going to be the next thing.
yeah.
But it is that delivering. So really where it gets me in December is, what can I make and deliver, and then obviously, create an income for myself. And
Yeah.
the anthology thing is really where we're at. And even with Jake and I, we've been having Alex Turbin on, and there's a possible collaboration next year, if not pretty soon, where there'll be some there'll be an anthology for our third turbo teaser, because I'm right now working on the 6 pages,
Ooh,
which is page 13 through
nice.
18 of
Man,
that.
that thing's coming
Um,
along.
it's chugging, but once again, you got to be realistic and putting things out there for yourself to be able to hit, and then have that feeling. But getting back to like variant version, interior, art variant versions,
Hmm.
it'll be the one thing that has me so psyched already with the content that I have in the works with you, David, and some other people, is revisiting this content in order to keep explaining my Crom vision, like
Yeah.
the why these things are. And the one thing I keep thinking about, and we talked about this in the last episode, is
Hmm.
these guys, the cave becomes this tunnel of time where these two worlds are going to meet, and we're getting this side, coming in, but there's going to be a day where we're going to write the version where Crom comes into a cave, and there's these guys here.
Yeah. Yeah, for
So
sure.
this becomes the thing that really ignites me, and creates more excitement than trying to create and work off of an established. I call it like the epic. You know what I mean? Like the
Yeah, for
four
sure.
hundred thousand page novel I have. I don't work like that. You know what I mean? So I love these smaller vignettes, and then building. Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
getting super excited.
Yeah, it's very good. It's like it's it's like reading Sunday comics where it's like, all right, there's no way it'll get out of this one, or like watching a serialized like kind of like one of those movies they'd show before the movies, and it's like, oh well, Batman went off the cliff and the Batmobile got smashed to smithereens. There's no way he got out of this one, but somebody
Right.
comes along and figures it out.
So with your script at this point, is there anything you need from me to just put to rest on you moving
No,
forward?
I think I got the script pretty well locked in.
I
That was
agree.
one of the
I
things
agree.
before like moving on with the drawing that I wanted to make sure I had hammered in because I didn't want to keep going back and forth too much in revising. Um,
Okay.
so I think unless you got like any like the suggestion to kind of bookend it a little bit more, I'm definitely going to be thinking about that as I'm approaching page 6. And I'm wondering if a lot of like whatever visual cues I have yet to establish will inform that too.
Correct.
So
I,
I think
correct.
it'll come together in the end.
No,
And
I
I'm
do.
still
I no.
pretty solid on 6 pages, but if it does change, I will
Good.
definitely let you know.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. It's not going to be. It's not going
Yeah.
to. It's like adding a piece of canvas to your painting, which I know
Yeah.
you got a good idea of what that means. There's so many people.
Yeah.
You walk into a art museum or a gallery and you see this seam, and you're like, "What the hell? Why did they add three things?" Well, it's because they
More to
started with
say.
this idea, and you start yes, and then and it comes up, and then I love that. That's the other thing I love
Yeah.
about working with you, Jason, is that artsy fartsy fine arts
It,
approach and
it
thinking and
sometimes it
moving
works,
forward.
sometimes it kind of
Mm,
buries
yeah,
me, but
yeah.
finding that balance is part of the process.
Did you say it embarrass you?
Oh no, it buries me.
Oh, buries you. Oh, okay.
Yeah. If I leave it too open-ended, like, kind of like if I didn't have locked down that script, then it would have been like we would be here
Right,
probably
right.
for another 3 years.
Yes, yes. No, we do have to create some professionalism in the way of
Yes.
like
Got to put
saying,
some
hey,
guardrails
you know,
up. You got to
yep,
box
yep,
yourself in a
yep,
little
yep,
bit.
yep, yep. And then when you do end up finding stuff material wise which you would love to add to it, you just hold off and put it on the side and say, okay, well that's
Yeah.
good enough. That's some good material.
Or if
That's some
you're
good
like
material
me,
for another
you look
piece.
for ways you can break those guardrails in some spots.
Nice.
You leave a little room for some cheekiness, I think.
Right, right, right. Well, look, then I want to give you the rest of time here, here at the end, and just let us know what is going on your side. With what do you have to offer people? One of the other things I love about
Oh
Jason
man.
is he has his own functioning website, so you
Yes,
can
I've
go
actually
and buy
recently
any of this stuff.
Yes, I've recently revamped it too, so you can actually go on it and like it looks a lot cleaner. It's more up to date. Let's see, I got a couple of zines here, still the same old Gut and Ghost and Facebook, and I don't have After Frank Miller on me. It's in the other room. And but yeah, you can go to my shop on my website and you can find all that stuff there. I got art prints, original art for sale. If you're in Columbia, South Carolina, I have a piece that's going to be in a show in a yet to be determined place and a yet to be determined time. The previous place opted out because of one of the paintings. They didn't like I don't know. I guess there was something objective about it or something from their point of
Oh
view.
wow!
So rather than
Oh,
remove it, the curator decided to just find a new place for it. So we're waiting on that.
oh, okay,
But that'll be a
okay.
lot of fun. That was the person who curated it got local writers and local artists that she picked and had the writers, like write a poem or a short, you know, whatever, and then the artist got to pick and then interpret those visually. So it's a good local collaboration. It's going to be a really special show. So if anybody's in Columbia, South Carolina, look for Verse and Vision. That'll be a lot of fun. And then other than that, yeah, I'm just trying to make stuff so that way I could sell it. Same as you, Kurt.
Yep. 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 Yeah. Cromthebarbarian.com. You can find
Yes.
this. I call it the starter kit, the sandbox, the player hand
Yeah.
guide to get involved into a version of Crom the Barbarian. I do not claim ownership of Crom. But I do want to play with others in developing and stuff. And I have some amazing artists that are um, uh, writing, creating comics. If you're here on YouTube, go ahead and hit that
Yeah.
subscribe, and you're going to find more. Also, I brought from New Zealand 25 copies of 100 copy print run from Drawn Sword. I refer to it as a dark concept art book.
Yeah.
The amazing thing about this is these are 1-to-1 size ratio. So this drawing was done on an A4 size piece of paper, and
No
then
kidding.
this comic book is A4 printed. So
No kidding.
this is so amazing and inspiring beyond just the cool ass,
Oh yeah.
characters that Drawn Sword has put together. If you're an artist, it's almost to the point where you have to have a copy of this book just to be able
Hmm.
to. You're seeing how you're like how sharp is that pencil? I do know
Yeah.
that he has razors and he's sharpening down his points and stuff. But this was an exciting thing for us to do. Did a pre-order campaign, and we got copies from Japan. Excuse me, from New Zealand. And just so everybody knows, these
So cool.
are 100. They're signed and numbered, printed in New Zealand. So this is a really sweet thing. And I am one half of Turbo Pit Fighter. If you're on YouTube, just hit the search bar, Turbo Pit Fighter comic. You'll find Jake and I yammering on about making our comic. We also do an indie creator exchange, which we just completed for the year. I am taking people's submissions for next year, and already we have a couple that are just so exciting to get into. And we're
Yeah,
also
your
do
your
just a
recent indie
comic
creator
book.
exchanges that were awesome. I've caught a
Thank
few
you.
little bits of those, and they're man, you're getting some you're real. I mean, you've always gotten great artists, but it just seems like more of them are turning my head a lot more than
There's so
the
many
internet
great,
has done for me lately.
and there's so many
You're creating a
great.
whirlpool. You're creating a
Great.
whirlpool.
I hope
Kurt.
so. Jake and I really, really hope so. I mean, him and I, we're doing it because we're still learning, and
Yeah,
we're coming back in from a 20+ year hiatus, if you will.
yeah.
And there's just so many moving parts in the art world, the comic book world, the indie comic book world, the
Hmm.
post-apocalyptic sci-fi thriller. So
Yeah,
so it is just one half right now, just comics and trying to keep ourselves aligned. But it's also we're running into people where what they're working on has us so inspired that we've just got to get it on record.
yeah.
And the really cool thing about this year is we had quite a few follow-up interviews. So, and that was the whole idea, is that you see so many times, oh, I interviewed Jason Schoonover. Check. I don't
Hmm.
ever have to talk to him again. There's a lot of that out there where Jake and I are way more excited about getting Jason Schoonover back on and talking about comics,
For
and
sure.
what you're working on in that update point and everything like that, because it's a process and we love it and we want to keep it
Yeah.
moving forward.
Well, I
So
love it because it's a great documentation, I think, of like what's happening just at everybody's kitchen table that like aspires to do this kind of thing.
yep,
It's it's good. You guys are here at the right time. It's without any of the like pretension of like, oh, look, we got Jeff Darrow on. It's like that's great, but like I'm curious. I've seen Jeff Darrow before, you
yeah,
know.
exactly,
I want to
exactly.
know who's this random guy whose art I've never seen before that like I can't stop wanting to look at it. You know, I want to
Yep,
see that guy on Kurt's
yep,
channel. So
yep, yep.
yeah, no, you guys are doing a great thing. I really love the
Thank you.
light you're shedding on process and how it you come at it like you said from a very we're all learning here and we're teaching each other as we learn things.
Absolutely, absolutely. And once again, loved hanging out with you, Jason. And
Yeah, man.
I I'm hoping we can get together one more time before the big holiday at the end of the year. But
Yeah,
if
we'll
not,
see.
I wish you and your family, the best of health and, and having a restful time. I know you have a family and, I don't know how anybody has a restful time as moms and dads with kids during holidays,
Oh
but,
man.
it's also a wonderful thing. So, but we will always be in touch and, keep doing what you're doing and we'll get together again.
Yeah, man, sounds good, Kurt. Appreciate talking to you. And if I don't talk to you
Always.
before the holidays, have a happy one.
All right. We'll see you, Jason.
Later.